The day of my annual review, my department head, Mark, called me into his office. He said my salary was several times higher than my colleagues, creating a significant pay disparity that needed to be balanced. My raise was turning into a pay cut, and a year-end bonus was completely off the table. I agreed with a smile and immediately started phoning it in. By that afternoon, our biggest client was blowing up everyone's phone, and the entire company scrambling to put out the fire was getting nowhere. The CEO called me that night, practically begging for help. I just shot back. I was handling too much of the workload. It's not balanced. Better to spread it around. Sean, this salary adjustment is coming from senior management. Mark had said, his voice low. Your income is multiples of everyone else's. The salary bands are way out of whack. We need to create some balance. Today was the annual review. Instead of raise, he was telling me my salary was being cut by 50%. As for a bonus? Don't even think about it. The move left me stunned. I was the department's only lead engineer, the core of the technical team. Didn't it make sense that I was the highest paid? I earned that salary with my performance, I said, poking a hole in his flimsy excuse. And my pay hasn't changed in 3 years. Why the sudden need for balance now? That's something I'm not privy to. Mark stammered, his face twitching. He lowered his voice even more. The amount you're being balanced by is going to Kyle Warren. Mr. Evans recruited him personally. If it's coming from the top, then it's fine by me, I said, my tone detached, as if we were discussing the weather. Mark couldn't believe he'd gotten rid of this hot potato so easily. Great. Well, if there's nothing else, you can head back to your desk. What an absolute joke. I had busted my ass all year, always on call, even on weekends and holidays. And my reward wasn't just a lack of a bonus, but a punishment. When I got back to my desk, my high-end workstation was gone. Robbed in broad daylight. I scanned the office, about to ask what the hell was going on, when Kyle Warren, sitting across from me, spoke up. Hey, Sean, the machine I've been using is ancient, totally useless for my work. I've already put in a request for a new one, but I heard yours is a top-spec model from a couple of years ago. You don't mind if we trade for a bit, do you? You mean you already took it? I said, finally noticing 2 computers on his desk. Oh, sorry about that, man, he said, the apology dripping with insincerity. I guess I should have asked first. If you're not cool with it, I'll give it back as soon as I'm done copying my files. So, he didn't know you weren't supposed to just take people's things. The other colleagues, the ones who were usually all buddy-buddy with me, were suddenly deaf and blind. Whatever. Don't bother copying the files. You want it, you can have it. You can have my lead engineer title, too, I said, then leaned back and started scrolling through TikTok. Are you kidding me, Sean? Kyle said, his expression dead serious. You can't just hand over a title like that. Mr. Evans just spoke with me, told me to learn as much as I can from you. I was worried you wouldn't be willing to teach me. I didn't even bother to look at him. Just then, Mr. Evans himself walked out of the main office, clapping his hands twice to get everyone's attention. Quick announcement, he boomed. Starting today, Kyle Warren will be officially taking over as lead engineer. Kyle has experience at 2 of the top firms in our industry. His technical skills and abilities are second to none. He'll be handling our VIP accounts from now on. As for Sean, you've been working hard for a long time. Take this chance to relax a bit. The sudden news left the entire office in stunned silence. You could have heard a pin drop. Everyone knew Kyle was Mr. Evans' old college buddy. He'd done short stints at a couple of big-name companies to pad his resume and inflate his value. But in reality, he was all style and no substance. Now, he was being handed my title and my clients on a silver platter. Congratulations, Kyle, I said, breaking the silence. With you at the helm, I'm sure we'll reach new heights. With me leading the charge, everyone else chimed in with their congratulations. Seeing the harmonious atmosphere, Mr. Evans gave Kyle a satisfied pat on the back before walking away. I shot a contemptuous look at his retreating back, then turned and headed for the elevator. On the roof, I pulled out my phone and made a call. Mr. Ramsey, that director role you mentioned before, is that offer still on the table? Mr. Ramsey thought I was just calling for a casual chat. When my words registered, I could practically hear him straighten up in his chair. You finally decided to leave Innovate Solutions? Sean, you have no idea how long I've been waiting for this call. If you had come over sooner, we'd probably be a public company by now. Get over here, and you can help us ring the opening bell. I'm coming, I said, but not right now. The pay cut, the canceled bonus, stripping my title, stealing my clients, it was all designed to do one thing. Force me to quit so they wouldn't have to pay a dime in severance. With the economy in a downturn these last few years, the real estate market was tanking, dragging manufacturing down with it. Our industry, manufacturing software, was practically starving. As a veteran of the corporate world, I knew all the dirty tricks and scrupulous bosses used to cut staff without paying up. Forget a proper severance package. They'd use a combination of pay cuts and slash performance metrics while doubling your workload, pushing you until you couldn't take it anymore and resigned. Anyone familiar with labor law knows that if you quit, the company owes you nothing. Innovate Solutions used to be a mid-sized company with nearly 1,000 employees. Now, we were less than half that size. Most people have been forced out by these shameless tactics. I just never thought it would happen to me, one of the company's core technical assets. I joined the company right out of college. For 8 years, I watched it grow from a few dozen people to a small giant. Countless times, recruiters like Mr. Ramsey had tried to poach me, but I'd always turn them down. Not because I didn't care about money, but because I'm a dedicated and loyal person. I believe in gratitude. I thought my loyalty would be returned in kind. Turns out, I was just being naive. Fine. If that's how they wanted to play it, then they couldn't blame me for quietly quitting. I was curious to see how they'd ring in the new year without their cornerstone holding everything up. At 11:59 a.m., I walked over to the time clock. The second it hit noon, I punched out and left. Our VIP clients had endless demands. Pushing out new builds every few days was standard. Normally, I'd be the one working through lunch or late into the evening to get it done. Coincidentally, a software update was due for a VIP client this afternoon. But now, I couldn't care less. It wasn't my problem anymore. I went across the street to the mall, treated myself to a nice lunch, then went back to my apartment next door for a long, satisfying nap. This was the life. At 2 p.m., I clocked back in right on the dot. Everyone was buried in their work, treating me like I was invisible. Perfect. No one would notice me slacking off. Without my workstation, my desk felt huge and empty, which was actually ideal for my new mission. Before I officially started my slacking, I logged out of all my work accounts on my own machine from my phone. That way, even with my computer, Kyle couldn't access any of my data. He didn't have my password, after all. He'd had my machine for hours, and the idiot probably hadn't even managed to boot it up yet. What a waste. As for all those annoying group chats for the VIP clients, I had already left every single one of them while I was at lunch. The world was wonderfully quiet. I've been so used to working diligently that, for a moment, I wasn't sure how to properly slack off. I'd heard good things about ChatGPT, so I decided to see what it was all about. An hour later, I'd finished 2 cups of coffee, scrolled through dozens of travel blogs, and was just about to research which spot to hit up tonight when an unwelcome voice broke the silence. Sean Ellis, why didn't you push the update for the VIP client this afternoon? Kyle was practically steaming at the sight of me, so blatantly doing nothing. Like you said, that's work for the VIP accounts. I'm just a regular employee now. That's way above my pay grade, I replied. But you were always the one who handled it before. Not anymore. Didn't Mr. Evans say this morning that all VIP clients are your responsibility now? My words left Kyle speechless, his frustration simmering with nowhere to go. But the memory of the client's angry phone call forced him to soften his tone. You need to push the update for them at 3:30. I already scheduled it. Can't. Hey, mister. Lead engineer, I gotta use the restroom. Drank too much coffee, and I really can't hold it, I said. Before he could respond, I brushed past him and made a run for the bathroom. Kyle's face was livid. Fine. We don't need you. I don't believe this whole company will fall apart without you. Robbie, you do the update. Robbie was the junior dev I had personally trained. He knew exactly what he was capable of, and this wasn't it. I can't, Kyle. The VIP client system is way too complex, Robbie said, fully aware of his own limitations. Kyle's face darkened as he asked several other people, all of whom gave him the same answer. The reason our VIP clients were VIPs wasn't just because they paid a lot of money. Right now, besides me, no one else in this company could handle them. Kyle thought that because he'd spent a little time at a couple of big-name firms, he was an expert. So young, so naive. It's just a software update. Why are you all acting like it's rocket science? Bunch of useless. I got back from the restroom just in time to hear him muttering. That's the spirit, Kyle, I said, scrolling through food recommendations on my phone. You're the expert from the industry leaders. For you, this should be a walk in the park. Kyle heard the sarcasm in my voice and shot me a death glare full of warning. I didn't even glance his way. 10 minutes later, he finally managed to connect to the VIP client's server remotely. He suddenly turned to Robbie. Where's the update package? I burst out laughing, the sound echoing through the quiet office. Sorry, I said, trying to stifle my grin. Just remembered a really funny meme I saw. Couldn't help it. If looks could kill, I'd be dead 1,000 times over. But the client's deadline was ticking, and he didn't have time to argue with me. Robbie, come help me. The two of them fumbled around for a while and finally found the update package, but Robbie was useless for the actual deployment. They had notified the client of a 30-minute downtime. When the time was up, tens of thousands of users trying to access the site were met with a "this site can't be reached" error. The client, a Mr. Chun, started lighting up Kyle's phone with a storm of calls. All Kyle could do was grovel and apologize like a kicked puppy. 2 hours later, the update was superficially complete. By the time they finished, the client's entire staff had already gone home for the day. While Kyle spent 2 hours drowning in stress and getting chewed out, I spent 2 hours mastering the art of doing nothing. And I still had another 30 minutes to kill before quitting time. The clock struck 6, and I was the first one out the door. The elevator hadn't even reached the ground floor when my phone rang. It was Mr. Evans. "Sean, where the hell are you? That VIP client from this afternoon is having major issues. The group chat is exploding. What are you doing playing dead? Why didn't you handle this immediately? Get your ass back here right now and fix it." Honestly, I'd never heard Mr. Evans so furious. But what did that have to do with me? Not my circus, not my monkeys. "No way. I had no idea," I said, feigning surprise. I then explained, "I left all the relevant group chats after your announcement this morning. Didn't you say all VIP clients were Kyle's responsibility now? With him on the case, what could possibly go wrong? He just took over. He's not as familiar with their system as you are. I need you to get back here and assist him. Are you telling me you're going to defy a direct order? If I assist him, is he going to share his salary and bonus with me? Just get back here and solve the problem. We can talk about that later." "I'll pass. He took my salary and my bonus, so he should be doing the work I used to do. That's what you call balance, right? You've got some nerve. I guess you don't want to work here anymore." Mr. Evans snarled, his voice tight with rage. Hello? What was that? "The signal's bad in here." I hung up and promptly blocked his number, along with a few others. I wasn't about to let a bunch of clowns ruin my evening plans. It turns out a life without overtime is pretty damn amazing. I met up with my best friend for wings and beers, then hit up a spa for a full-body massage. I felt relaxed, rejuvenated like I was years younger, back to when I first graduated. These past 2 years, as the company kept downsizing, the workload had just piled up. Overtime was the norm. Management's brilliant conclusion was that our poor performance was due to bad customer support, which was hurting sales. We're Joe. The sales team couldn't close deals, so instead of rethinking their strategy, studying the market, or updating the product, they blamed support. I sometimes wonder how this disaster of a company ever grew to nearly 1,000 people. It must have been pure dumb luck. As they say, even a pig can fly in a hurricane. Before bed, I reviewed my slacking performance for the day and realized there was still significant room for improvement. The next morning at 8 a.m., I clocked in right on time. Strangely, the office was empty except for the receptionist. My heart skipped a beat, but then I calmed down. The receptionist was here, so they couldn't have moved offices overnight. I ordered a breakfast burrito on DoorDash and prepared for my first paid bathroom break of the day. As I passed the front desk, the receptionist told me that everyone had worked until 2 a.m. Mr. Evans had graciously allowed them to come in 30 minutes late today. 30 minutes. The receptionist had no idea I hadn't worked last night and seemed puzzled why I was in so early. Under her confused gaze, I grabbed a thick stack of paper towels from the counter and strode confidently toward the men's room. Her expression instantly shifted to one of what I could only assume was deep admiration and envy. I spent a solid 30 minutes in the stall, long enough for my legs to go numb. The actual business was over in minutes. The rest was spent scrolling through an endless, addictive stream of TikToks. If it weren't for the thought of my breakfast getting cold, I probably could have stayed in there all morning. Reluctantly, I returned to the office. Kyle and the others were at their desks, looking completely drained. Some were even slumped over, trying to catch a few minutes of sleep. The receptionist had kindly left my breakfast on my desk. I started eating with gusto, not caring who was watching. Man, doing personal stuff on company time felt incredible. As I was finishing up, Kyle shuffled over to my desk, looking sheepish. "Sean," he began awkwardly, "after you're done with breakfast, could you maybe take a look at the VIP client system? A bunch of us worked until 2 this morning, but there's still some lingering issues." "Sure thing," I agreed readily. "Just let me throw this trash out." "I can get that for you." "No thanks. I need to take a crap after I dump the trash. Can you help with that too?" I paid no mind to his mortification, picked up my empty food container, and casually walked out of the office. I obviously wasn't going to use the bathroom again. I just wanted to waste more time. I mindlessly scrolled on my phone for another half hour, ignoring the barrage of Slack and text messages demanding my return. Kyle finally got tired of waiting and did the unthinkable. He came to the men's room to personally escort me back. "Sean, are you done in there?" "Not yet." "What's up?" I asked, plain dumb. "Don't rush me. The more you rush, the longer it takes. And if I don't finish, I'll be uncomfortable. And when I'm uncomfortable, I can't focus on work. It was just the two of us in the restroom. As soon as I finished my sentence, I heard a grinding sound. I couldn't tell if it was him gritting his teeth or his knuckles cracking as he clenched his fists. After another 10 minutes, I finally took pity on him and emerged from the stall. Kyle looked at me like I was his savior, rushing forward as if he wanted to carry me back to my desk. I kept him at a safe distance, as if fending off a mugger. After his repeated pleas, I finally returned to my workstation. Well, what are you staring at? You asked for my help, didn't you? How am I supposed to work without any tools? I said, crossing my arms and gesturing at my empty desk. It took him a second to register. He quickly scurried over to his desk and brought back a computer, his old one. I took my sweet time booting it up, logging into Slack, and then painstakingly read through every single unread message. Finally, I turned to Kyle, who was still hovering beside me. I don't see any 5-alarm fires here. He stammered, "Oh, I forgot to add you to the new channel." 1 second. Huh. Yesterday, I had to actively leave the group chats, and today they were so desperate, they created a new channel just to drag me back in. The irony was delicious. I was added to the channel. New members could see the last 100 messages, so I scrolled up and read through the chaos, a smirk playing on my lips. When I was done, I still didn't move. Kyle couldn't stand it anymore. "Sean, can you start now?" "I have started." "Then do something." He was about to lose it. I pushed the mouse aside. "You have to think before you act," I said curtly. "If you don't get it, then shut up." His chest heaved, his knuckles white as he clenched his fists, veins popping on his arms. I was just starting to consider what my legal options were for self-defense when his phone rang. "Hello, Mr. Chun. I'm so sorry. We deeply apologize for the trouble this has caused your company. We're working on it right now. I assure you, we'll resolve it as soon as possible." I think Mr. Chun might have just saved my life. Kyle took several deep breaths, and his frantic energy finally began to subside. "Sean, have you figured out a solution yet?" "More or less." He let out a sigh of relief and pulled up a chair, clearly intending to watch over my shoulder. I methodically clicked around, opening this, closing that, doing everything except addressing the actual problem. After about 15 minutes, I muttered, "It's not my computer. I'm not used to it." Just then, Mr. Evans finally made his grand entrance. When he saw Kyle and me together, a flicker of displeasure crossed his face, though he quickly masked it. He shifted his attention to yesterday's disaster. "Kyle, is the VIP client's issue resolved?" "Almost. There are just a few cleanup items left." "Good work. That client is the lifeblood of this company. We can't afford any more mistakes. Stay on top of it." Mr. Evans patted Kyle's shoulder, then turned his glare on me. "Sean Ellis, don't think for a second that Innovate Solutions can't function without you. Kyle will do a much better job than you ever did." Without waiting for my reaction, Mr. Evans delivered his parting shot and disappeared into his office. He had made his dramatic exit, leaving Kyle, who had just been begging for my help, in an incredibly awkward position. My co-workers, who had been shamelessly eavesdropping, suddenly became intensely focused on their work, terrified of catching any shrapnel. "Mr. Evans just made it pretty clear," I said, breaking the silence. "Maybe you should handle it. I really can't figure this out, Sean. Please, just help me out," he pleaded, his voice cracking. He sounded like he was on the verge of tears. Seriously? This was all it took to break him? Pathetic. Before I could say another word, he was already retrieving my original workstation. To my surprise, every single piece of software I regularly used had been uninstalled. What the hell was I supposed to do now? I was about to throw my hands up and walk away when a furious roar erupted from the executive office. Apparently, the client, Mr. Chun, had escalated the issue directly to Mr. Evans. The delayed update yesterday was one thing, but the real problem was what came after. First, the system was plagued with bugs. Then, the data became corrupted. This was a financial system used by tens of thousands of people. The all-nighter they pulled only fixed the bugs. They hadn't even known where to start with the data corruption. What could have been a manageable problem had been left to fester by an incompetent fool until it became a full-blown catastrophe. And the reason for Mr. Evans's rage? Mr. Chun had just given him a 1-hour deadline to fix everything. If not, Innovate Solutions will be liable for all associated financial losses. Not only that, but they reserve the right to sue for further damages. The plan had been to squeeze more maintenance fees out of this VIP client in the new year. Now, not only would they not see a dime, but they might lose their shirts paying for the damages. Mr. Evans stormed out his office, his face a thundercloud. Everyone else ducked their heads even lower. What are you two still chatting about at a time like this? He yelled at Kyle. Mister, Chun from the VIP account, just call me directly. Get this problem fixed now. Despite the public dressing down, Kyle didn't flinch. Anyone else would have been shaking in their boots. I'm coordinating a solution. I was just about to report to you, Kyle said, suddenly regaining his composure in Mr. Evans's presence. I'm not fully up to speed on the client system, so I've asked Sean to assist. Hearing that, Mr. Evans turned his fire on me. Sean, Ellis, you need to handle this immediately. The client is freaking out. I nodded and agreed, but then proceeded to work at a snail's pace. By the time Mr. Evans came back out to check on my progress, I had only just finished reinstalling some basic software. At this point, there were only 10 minutes left on Mr. Chen's deadline. Well, is it fixed yet? Mr. Evans asked, a sheen of nervous sweat on his forehead. Not yet. We've just connected to the client's server remotely, Kyle stammered, his confidence now completely gone. Mr. Evans heard this and nearly lost his mind. Half an hour had passed, and they had only just established a remote connection. He didn't know the technical details, but he knew you couldn't solve a crisis of this magnitude in 10 minutes. The thought of the massive liability and the impending lawsuit sent a surge of rage through him. Sean Ellis, are you trying to screw with me? Are you going to do your goddamn job or not? If not, then pack your shit and get the hell out. I didn't get angry. I simply closed the remote connection and shut the laptop with a decisive snap. Fine by me. That's a legal termination, so you'll owe me double the standard severance. Double severance? You must be dreaming. You won't get a single cent. Kyle was completely lost. 1 minute, we were talking about fixing a client's problem, and the next we were on to severance pay. I had been with the company for over 8 years. Terminating my contract without legal cause meant they were on the hook for a significant payout. A settlement in the six-figure range sounded pretty damn good to me. Before I could say another word, Mr. Chun called again. Mr. Evans, who had been acting like a drill sergeant moments before, answered the phone and instantly turned into a sniveling yes man, his face plastered with a grotesque, smiling grimace. A few minutes later, Kyle and the other senior staff were herded into the conference room. I was pointedly left out. I could vaguely hear them talking about hiring outside technical consultants. I just chuckled and went back to scrolling through TikTok, completely unbothered. Just like yesterday, I clocked out right on time. That afternoon, I even downloaded a side hustle app to make some extra cash while I was slacking. Getting paid by 2 different sources for the same block of time was an amazing feeling. The truth is, Mr. Chen had contacted me privately that morning. We had developed a decent professional relationship over the years. I explained my situation at the company and told him there was nothing I could do. He understood and said he had to proceed with official channels. He also told me that the incident had caused them significant damage. It looked like Innovate Solutions was definitely going to be hit with a massive lawsuit. At 6 p.m., I clocked out and left. That evening, I had just finished a run and was about to hop in the shower when someone started pounding on my apartment door. I didn't know any loan sharks, so I had no idea who it could be. As I peered through the peephole, a voice came through the door. Sean, are you home? Ugh, he'd actually come to my home. It looked like the client's lawsuit was officially underway. I was planning to pretend I wasn't there, but I had forgotten to block his number after work, and my phone started ringing. Now I was caught. Before I could answer, Mr. Evans spoke again. Sean, I know you're in there. Please open the door so we can talk. I didn't move. The door shuttered again with more loud knocking. Worried about my neighbors, I finally spoke, my voice muffled. Mr. Evans, I'm already in bed. It's not a good time. We can talk at the office tomorrow. It was only 8 p.m. Not even a ghost would believe I was asleep, let alone Mr. Evans. I'm sorry, Sean. I was on edge today. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. I realized my mistake, and I came here specifically to apologize. Can you please open the door? Listen to that. Mr. Evans apologizing. That was a first. But did he think it would make me open the door? Not a chance. Who knows what he might do if he got inside? A handsome, single guy like me has to prioritize his safety. An apology isn't necessary, Mr. Evans. You should probably focus on arranging my severance package. Once the money is in my account, I'll gladly and quietly pack my things and leave. Sean Ellis, don't push your luck. I came all the way here to personally ask for your help, and you're still playing games? Well, that act didn't last long. Serve him right. Since you're clearly not here in good faith, you should probably leave. If you don't, I'm calling the police. I couldn't wait to see his furious expression. I put my eye back to the peephole to get a good look. Oh God, my eyes. Regret. All I felt was intense regret. What I saw was Mr. Evans being held in the arms of another man, who was gently patting his back to calm him down. And that other man was none other than Kyle Warren, the one who had stolen my salary, my bonus, and my title. A brilliant idea struck me. I opened my phone's camera, pointed it at the peephole, and snapped a few pictures. Then I went to take my shower. I have no idea when they left, and I didn't care. The next morning, I arrived at my usual time, but found that my key card wouldn't work. I knew immediately what was happening. They had revoked my access, trying to force me to quit by claiming I was a no-show. Were they legal idiots? There's no such thing as automatic resignation in labor law. Although I couldn't badge in, I could still get into the building. I went straight to the HR manager and demanded to know why my access had been deactivated. She said it was on Mr. Evans's orders and handed me a voluntary resignation agreement to sign. I'm not an idiot. I wasn't falling for that. The moment I realized my access was gone, I had started a voice recording on my phone. In just a few minutes, I easily tricked the HR manager into admitting on tape that the company was illegally terminating me. I immediately uploaded the recording to several cloud drives for backup. I also collected and saved screenshots of being removed from work channels and logs of my failed attempts to clock in. With my evidence secured, I packed up my few personal belongings and walked out of the company for good. I immediately filed a claim with the Labor Arbitration Board for wrongful termination, demanding double severance. The arbitration process would take a month or two, and if the company refused to comply with the ruling, I'd have to take them to court, which would drag things out even longer. I could afford to wait. I had a good amount of savings after 8 years, plus a high-paying offer from Mr. Ramsey waiting for me. That was my leverage. My only regret was all the years of my life I had wasted on that place. Before I even started my new job, I heard from Mr. Chun that they were suing Innovate Solutions for $5 million. Mr. Evans, of course, refused to pay. The two sides were still in negotiations, but the client was holding firm. It looked like it was heading to court. This whole mess meant that the annual raise and year-end bonus they'd once discussed with the client were now just empty words. I pieced this information together from the social media posts of my former colleagues. While I was being pushed out, they all chose to keep their heads down. I understood they were just trying to protect their own jobs, but that didn't mean it didn't sting. I guess what goes around comes around. After the new year, I officially started my new role as Director of Operations at Mr. Ramsey's company. My salary was double what I had been making at Innovate. Mr. Chin would call me from time to time event. His company still hadn't fully recovered from a system disaster. The $5 million lawsuit was winding its way through the legal system. Cases like that are complex, and gathering evidence takes time. Who knew when it would be resolved? When Mr. Chin found out I was working for Mr. Ramsey, I sensed an opportunity. It sounded like they were looking to switch vendors. I immediately relayed this intel to my new boss. Mr. Ramsey's company was already a step above Innovate Solutions in the industry hierarchy. Even so, there were lucrative clients they hadn't been able to land, and Mr. Chin's company was one of them. Mr. Ramsey was ecstatic when he heard the news, more convinced than ever that hiring me was the right move. I didn't let him down. After nearly a month of careful discussions and presentations, we finally reached the contract negotiation stage. The day of the meeting, I arrived at the client's office with Mr. Ramsey and our executive team. To my surprise, we ran into Mr. Evans and Kyle Warren in the reception area. The tea on their table had already been replaced once. They had clearly been waiting a long time. It made sense. Who wants to be friendly with someone who owes them a fortune? Mr. Evans's head was bowed. I glanced over and thought I could see a lot more gray in his hair. Really? Was a $5 million lawsuit enough to break him like that? Then again, Mr. Chin's company was Innovate's cornerstone client. Beyond the revenue they generated, they were a flagship account, a living testament to Innovate's brand. Now that golden goose had turned into a wolf, not only biting them hard, but also teaming up with other hunters to corner them. Mr. Evans was finally scared. He wasn't a complete idiot after all. I thought about my own arbitration case, which I had won. The deadline for payment was approaching. Looked like I'd have to file for enforcement soon. Mr. Evans, long time no see, I said, initiating the conversation. He looked up, his eyes wide with disbelief. He never expected to see me here. What surprised him even more was seeing Mr. Ramsey standing behind me. They were in the same industry. Of course he knew who Ramsey was. The pieces clicked into place in his mind. Sean Ellis, you have some nerve, he spat. Working for a direct competitor. That's illegal. Please, Mr. Evans, if you're that clueless about the law, you should read up on it. Did I ever sign a non-compete agreement with your company? Mr. Evans, so arrogant just a moment ago, immediately deflated. You received the ruling from the arbitration board, right? The payment deadline is almost here. I hope you'll arrange for my settlement money soon. You're celebrating too early. You think just because you won an arbitration, I'm going to pay you? Dream on. So, you're planning to default on the judgment? I asked, my gaze shifting to Kyle. It was a subtle hint and a direct threat. I'd advise you to focus on managing Innovate Solutions and maybe spend a little less time on your toxic office romance. I didn't wait to see their reactions. I turned and walked away, following Mr. Ramsey and our team into the executive conference room. I knew every detail of the contract between Innovate Solutions and Mr. Chen's company. It took almost no effort for me to help Mr. Ramsey close the deal, and at a 30% higher price point. Mr. Ramsey started treating me like his personal good luck charm, and my position in the new company became even more secure. As I predicted, Mr. Evans refused to comply with the arbitration ruling. The day the deadline passed, I immediately filed a motion with the court to enforce the judgment and freeze his company's assets. 3 months later, I finally received my full severance payment. The pictures I had of him and Kyle certainly helped grease the wheels. As for Innovate Solutions, I heard things got tougher and tougher. They started a new round of creative layoffs. This time, it wasn't targeted at one person, but at the entire staff. It seemed Mr. Evans had taken my advice and studied up on labor law. First, he organized a vote with employee representatives to push through an across-the-board pay cut, citing financial hardship. The average salary was slashed by 30%, and that was just the beginning. Next, he started delaying payroll. Then, on top of the pay cuts, performance bonuses were unconditionally cut in half. After that came the one-on-one meetings, pressuring employees to resign voluntarily. The generous offer was the company's cooperation in helping them collect unemployment benefits. The final brutal step was for those who still wouldn't leave. Their pay was cut down to the legal minimum wage. Through these tactics, in less than 6 months, Innovate Solutions shrank from its peak of nearly 1,000 employees to fewer than 50. When the anxiety of survival gnaws away at 2 people under the same roof, even breathing becomes a battle for oxygen. Mr. Evans, I imagine, was no longer experiencing the same thrill Kyle once gave him. I often think about it. If I didn't have my technical skills, if I didn't have that offer from Mr. Ramsey as a safety net, I probably would never have dared to fight my company like that. To be honest, every time I saw a colleague get pressured into signing a voluntary resignation form, I knew I was one of the lucky few. Most of them didn't have the specialized skills or another path forward. They had no choice but to sign and walk away. If the same thing happened to you, what would you do?